Today we're wiring up the optional EAS accessory sensors for our Edge CTS box. The Edge CTS and the Edge Insight allow you to use the EAS system to daisy chain extra sensors and features onto the system. This is the optional 12-volt accessory kit, 98605. It comes with two pigtails that allow you to connect two sensors to the system. And I've actually got two of them. I'm going to be wiring 130 psi pressure transducer for my degas pressure, one 100 psi pressure transducer for my fuel pressure, and then finally one 500 psi sensor for my transmission pressure. So it just comes as basically a coiled up wire. This side plugs into the EAS daisy chain system. The other side you have to solder onto your sensor. You can get these sensors on eBay for under $30. You can get them on Amazon too. I'll put a couple of links down in the description. Go ahead and click on those links. You'll get the cheapest possible sensors. They run about 25 bucks. They're 3-wire sensors. They're 5-volt pressure transducers. That means you have a VREF signal, you have a ground, and you have a sensor output signal. And these particular sensors run in the 0.5 volt up to 4.5 volts. So 4.5 volts will be the top of the pressure scale. So in this case, on a 100 psi pressure transducer, 4.5 volts would be 100 psi, 0.5 volts would be 0 psi. Check out my other videos for the setup in the EAS system, how you properly set it up to work with a standard transducer. This video we're just going to show you how to properly connect the wires and solder it up. So you're going to want to use some sort of insulation. For my degas pressure I'm using this expandable stuff. This stuff looks pretty sharp. It doesn't offer much temperature protection, but it looks good and it'll be good for my degas pressure. For my fuel pressure, I'm going to use a reflective fiberglass insulation. This stuff's really durable. It withstands temperatures up to like 2,000 degrees or something, and it's reflective and really durable. So we'll start with our degas pressure. I went ahead and already stuck the wires through the loom mostly, and we're just going to kind of milk the loom down so we can access the wires. And I like to melt the ends of the loom so that it doesn't start fraying on me. That makes it kind of tight at the end, but it also keeps it from falling apart. So getting the wires out can be a little tricky. There we go. And if you melt the end of the loom, it'll also stay scrunched up like that so that you can work with the wires. So your sensors are going to come with a red, a black, and a blue wire. And your EAS system is going to come with a red, a black, and a yellow. Basically, on the EAS system, the yellow is your sensor return or your signal return wire, and on the sensors, the blue wire is that same thing. So you're going to match red and black and yellow and blue. Personally, I always like to stagger my solder joints. Helps keep things separated and helps keep the total cable assembly skinnier in diameter. I'm just going to strip away some of the insulation there. I like to leave the ground as the middle wire. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut about a 1/4 inch off that. That'll be our middle wire. And then we'll go ahead and make our signal return the shorter wire. So that one we're going to cut about 1/2 inch off. Basically what that does is it staggers the solder joints so that when it's all said and done, even if you had bare solder joints, they wouldn't touch each other. So it's a good way to do it. So the same thing here, except on this side, we're going to cut our black down like so, and then on this one we have to cut the red down so that it's shorter. So the red one will then get cut like so, and then our wires will then match up like so. Alright, then we're just going to strip off part of the insulation. Like so. Like so. And I always like to use a little bit of heat shrink, even though I stagger my joints. So go ahead and get our heat shrink on there. I want 3 equal sizes there. Three equal size heat shrink. Just slide those on as far down as we can. Like so. Then we'll go ahead and pull our connector out. And we're just going to twist the ends together. So let's start with the signal since it's kind of a short guy here. So I just kind of cross them like that. And then I wrap one down and around. Like that. And then wrap the other one down and around. Like that. And you always want to have a good soldering iron. I got this Black & Decker that I've been using forever. My trusty little rusty. And some good thin solder. If you're not using thin solder, you might have a hard time. I like to use the silver stuff just because it's cleaner. It's a little bit more, but it makes for a better solder joint. And go ahead and start with that one since it's kind of tight right there. Basically set your joint down on there. Just going to touch the solder to the tip of the soldering iron. And then once the solder starts to melt, the whole wire assembly will start soaking up solder. And then you just feed the solder into the wire joint itself. And it'll suck it up, kind of like soldering a copper pipe. The flux in the solder actually kind of wicks up into the wire, and then you start feeding the solder down into the wire itself, and it sucks it all through the whole thing. So I'll do the next shortest one next. Just going to cross them. Wrap one around and down. So, wrap the other one around. Like so, and then I like to pull the whole assembly to make sure they're straight. Like so. And we'll repeat the soldering process. Like so. And now for the final wire. Give it a little pull. Make sure they're nice and straight and even. If you get a little bump right there from where the wires were sticking up, just take a pair of pliers or needle nose and just kind of crunch it down. Alright, there we have it. Nice soldered wires. Now we'll just take our heat shrink, come down and cover the joint. So because we staggered them, even if you didn't use heat shrink on them, they could still be close together and not even touch. But you always want to use heat shrink just for the sake of it. And you're just going to melt your heat shrink. I like to use the double wall adhesive lined heat shrink. Makes for a watertight seal. Keeps it from moving around. It's a lot more durable stuff. A heat gun works really well too. Alright, there's our soldered connection. Now all we're going to do, let that cool a little bit. We're just going to slide our insulation over that. Break it up a little bit. And I made it a little too tight when I melted the end together. And there we go. There's our completed end. on one side and on the other. That's going to be our degas pressure line right there. Nice short one. There we have it. Go ahead and check out the other video for actually setting up the EAS box to accept the new sensors. And then I'll do another video showing all the sensors in action in the truck.